Welcome to Lexi's Healthy Dynamic Life podcast. I am your host, Lexi, and on this episode, we are so excited to be interviewing Dani, aka Fit Fruit Queen, a fabulous woman indeed. Welcome, Dani. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on, Lexi. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yay! I'm so excited too. And we're going to be doing a much longer, more in-depth, deep dive episode with you coming up soon. So everyone stay tuned for that. Today is like a sneak peek teaser. And Dani's going to be sharing with us her top tips for releasing excess weight in a healthy way. So take it away, Dani.
So I've been thinking, at first, I think it's really important if you calculate your BMR, like your basal metabolic rate, and figure out what that is for you, because we're all going to have different numbers. And that's just a number that's going to be the lowest amount of calories that you want to stick with. And so once you figure that out, then you can calculate in your activity level. And after that, then you're going to kind of know what range that you want to stay in, because calories do matter. Even if you're just eating super healthy food, it can add up, and any excess calories are going to get stored as fat rather than being released. So you're going to want to make sure that you're sticking within a calorie range that doesn't go below your BMR, which is very specific. So you're going to put in your height, your weight, your sex, your age. There's all sorts of components to it. It's pretty easy. You can just Google it and, type your numbers in. And then after that, you'll have that number. And then when you put your activity level in, it'll give you the next number. And so if you're trying to release weight, it's really important to stick within that basal metabolic rate and not go below that. And then also go just below, where that activity level calorie range is going to be. So you're going to stick within that kind of a range to give you like the best way to release weight and not go over your calorie requirements. And there's going to be some days where you're a little bit more active and you can add in some more calories in that way. But the easiest way after that is just to eat fresh, water-full, water-rich foods, and in the form of fruits and vegetables, because you're going to get super full, and the calorie density is so low of those foods that even if you ate an entire stomach full of watermelon, it'd probably only end up being like 300 calories. So you're completely satisfied, you're completely full, but you're not getting that many calories in the meal at all. But it's also important to be mindful of that, because you want to be able to eat enough. So you don't want to go over that or under that basal metabolic rate and put yourself in a dangerous situation where you probably won't meet any of your nutrient needs or things like that. You're going to want to make sure that you're at least getting some. So at first too, it's also important. I've been putting like my numbers into Chronometer whenever I'm curious where I'm at, and that will really help you to calculate everything that you've eaten in the day and make sure that you're hitting those calorie ranges that you want to stick with. And that's my other tip for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. So I heard you say that the first thing to do is get clear on your calorie range. So have an idea of what your basal metabolic rate is, add any activity in there, and get at least that amount. Is that right?
Yes, because if you go below your basal metabolic rate, then you are kind of putting yourself in a starvation situation, and that's not healthy, and that's not going to release any healthy weight or anything like that. So if you do that long term, you risk losing out on a bunch of nutrients, because there's a reason that your body needs a certain amount of calories, to do just the basic things like breathe and beat your heart and do all of those things. So you need to at least make sure that you're getting enough calories to maintain that. And then if you do want to release weight, you can just, do just a little bit more than your basal metabolic rate, but not go over the amount of calories you need if you're, an active person or not.
That makes sense. And, on Instagram and Facebook, people are talking about creating a calorie deficit and
Mm-hmm.
eating fewer calories than are required. But that's what you said sounds really dangerous and putting your body into starvation mode. And
So you are in like a calorie deficit because your activity level, once you calculate that in, so say my basal metabolic rate is 1200 calories a day I need to eat just to maintain if I sat around and did nothing. If I want to, but for the most part, I'm like active all day. And so my calorie range for my activity level would be up to like 1900 or something like that, say. So what I would want to do to be in a calorie deficit is stick between the 1200 and the 1900. So that somewhere in there, I'm not getting as much calories as I need for my activity level, but I'm still meeting my basic needs. And so that is where, you don't want to be in a calorie deficit below your basal metabolic rate, but below your activity level, then that is where, you're going to start to see weight release.
that makes sense. And then they're burning excess calories that have been previously stored to keep the
Exactly.
activity.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. And you also shared that eating fruits and vegetables is ideal. Do you want to speak a little bit more about how you came to that conclusion or why that's the best choice?
So I kind of alluded to the fact that they're very low in calorie density. So the main things that contribute to the density of calories in food are water and fiber and fat. The main thing being water. So that's huge. So if you think about it, if you eat a raw apple or you eat a handful of dried apples, the same amount of slices, how many, raw apples do you think you're going to be able to fit in your stomach versus the handful of dried apples? Most likely you can just keep eating those dried apples before you actually feel full or fill your stomach up. But the raw apples are going to take a little bit longer because they still have all that water content in there. So that actually will fill your stomach up. But at the end of it, you're going to eat a lot less calories because you eat a lot less of the food. So when you eat food in its natural state, for the most part, it's going to have that high water content. So you can combine all these foods together and make these giant meals, and the calories end up being, if you actually put it into Chronometer, ends up being pretty low, which is great because I love to eat food. I love to eat a lot of food. I love to feel full. I love to feel satisfied. And it's almost effortless. And it actually is effortless at this point because I've done it for so long that I've been able to figure out, what foods that I want to eat throughout my day to get the exact calories that I need to maintain my weight at this point.
Perfect. And I love how you put it, the importance of eating waterful foods. I think I'm totally going to adopt that term.
It just came to me. I don't know.
And you said you've been doing it a long time, and that's really helped you figure out what works. And so how long have you been eating a fruit and vegetable, raw, natural state foods based diet?
I've been completely raw for over 2 years now. And before that, I've always, my whole life been vegetarian / vegan in a way. So there's always been a lot of fruits and vegetables, but a lot of stuff was cooked and a lot of stuff was processed. And there's been a whole process through that, which we'll go into in the next interview. But fully raw and fruit based at that, and mostly high water content foods for over 2 years now.
Beautiful. And yes, I cannot wait to get in depth into your story and share that with all the listeners. And so the last thing I just wanted to touch upon is that you recommended a tool called Chronometer. For people who aren't familiar with that, is it a measuring device? Where can they find this Chronometer, and how will it help them?
Yeah, it's a super easy app. You can download it to Apple products or Android products. I don't know. Oh, you can do it on your computer too. So you can do it on a laptop or desktop. And it's just an app that you can put in literally any food. It really comes up with like a list of things. And if it doesn't, if it has a label, you can take a picture of it and you can send it in, and then it'll remember that. So it has all of the calories listed. So it can help you calculate your calories. It'll help you calculate your macronutrients, which are the fat, protein, and carbohydrates. And it'll also help you calculate all of your micronutrients that you need in the day, you know, like calcium and omegas and things like that. And protein, you know, all the different amino acids that we need. So you can see every day if you're meeting your goals. So you put in, again, you're going to put in your height and your weight and, you know, what your goals are for using the app. And then it'll help you just figure out how to do that every day.
Awesome. And so
Mm-hmm.
my last question for you today is, you know, it's easy to say eat fruits, eat veggies, go and do it, but it can be really difficult psychologically and emotionally to make those choices. Do you have any words of wisdom on that topic?
Yeah, it is. I totally agree, because my monkey mind comes into play and it says, you know, why don't you try to make, you know, a raw vegan mac and cheese, you know, because you really miss mac and cheese. So you do. And then I try, and you know what? It's just not as good as if I were to just have eaten the big watermelon or something like that. So a lot of it's just trial and error as you go. Finding what works for you is key, because it's not going to work the same way for everybody. You know, I eat a very high fruit diet. I do have like a fat percentage that I try to stick with between 10 and 20%. Some people try to stay in the 5% range and that works best for them. Some people, you know, eat keto raw vegan and that works for them with that really high fat. So just playing with different meals, seeing what feels good, you know, experimenting with recipes. That's the really fun part, is that you get to try different things and then just revel in the simplicity of the lifestyle too. And that takes a while to get there. You know, that didn't happen for me until probably this last year, where I just really enjoy just eating a simple mono meal, which means just eating one fruit at a time until I'm full, completely full on just one fruit. Um, but that took a while for me to get there, and actually just because I got super busy and I didn't have any other time to like prepare anything, so I would just bring fruit with me and that's just what I would eat at work or something like that. And I was like, this is so nice, like this is so easy, and I'm completely satisfied and full until, you know, my next meal. And so I would just say, for sure, find what works for you. Trust that, you know, even if you've got things that come in and out, let your body experience that and see if that's something that, you know, you want to continue to do, or if that's something that you can release and let go. Don't feel restricted. That's the worst thing that you can do. If you feel like you're just, I have to go eat fruit and I just really don't want to, then go make something else, or go make one of those fancy gourmet meals. There's plenty of options out there. And just make sure that you just don't ever get into that place where you feel like you have to be doing something. It's enjoyable, and this whole entire experience should be like a magical, enjoyable experience, and that's been mine so far. Of course, there's ups and downs throughout the whole thing, but just embrace it. It's a wild ride, and it's good. It's good on this other side. I feel great.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in and listened to Dani's tips. Definitely check her out on Instagram, Fit Fruit Queen. I'm Healthy Dynamic Life, and we wish you a happy, healthy, and dynamic day. Bye-bye.